We've been doing a series called Startup Stories for the last few events, and our startup founder for this month is a gentleman by the name of Michael Pope. Michael, if you'd like to come up to the stage, grab that mic. Give Michael a round of applause. Michael is a senior software architect, technical lead with over a decade of experience, and the founder of Klesis. So, Michael, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell them a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so my name is Michael Pope. Like she introduced me, I'm the founder of Klesis. So I've been working in technology for 10, going on 15 years actually now. I started out as a software engineer, and the way that I actually got started in tech was I was in high school and I was playing for Canyon Springs football for my Las Vegas natives. And I was trying to figure out what is it that I want to do after I graduate from high school. And so I considered a couple of different career options. For a while I was considering doing criminal justice. For a minute I considered doing psychology. Thank God I didn't do that, no offense to my psychology majors. And my football coach, at the time I was playing on the offensive and the defensive line, and he said, well, you know, why don't you try programming? And I'm like, well, don't you have to be like a math genius or really, really good at, you know, science and mechanical engineering, that kind of thing in order to get into programming? And he was like, no. He was like, here, he gave me a website. He was like, just give it a try, you know, see how you do, and then, you know, figure it out from there. And so I was like, okay. So I go home, I hop onto it. And so for people who do programming, you know that the first program that you write in any programming language is Hello World. And so I wrote Hello World, type it in, let it compile. And I knew instantly, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this till the day that I die. Like I instantly was sold. And so from there, I moved on to work for my first tech job. So I went and started working for a nonprofit, and I was actually able to get that job while I was studying in college. And me and my family were actually homeless. And so what was going on was I would work for Dunkin' Donuts as a barista during the day. And so my shift would start at like 6 a.m. So I'd get up at 4, catch the bus, get to the other side of North Las Vegas, start my opening shift at 6, and then I would work from 6 to 12. After that, I would go across the street to another coffee shop that actually had Wi-Fi, bust out my laptop, and then just grind out programming, do side projects, call up interviewers, that kind of thing. And so that's how I ended up getting my first programming job. And so I always try to encourage people to like learn more about tech or get into tech if it's something that you're interested in, because for me and my family, it absolutely changed our life. And so as I've been working in tech as a software engineer over the last 10 years, one of the things that I encountered was that, you know, there's a couple of different solutions that are out there for when you're trying to actually land a tech job. But one of the things that's really, really difficult, especially if you're like just getting your foot in the door, is trying to figure out, well, how do you actually talk to somebody who's a decision maker? If I throw in my application, especially now with all the ATS filters, the AI filters that are going on, it's like, how do I know if my application's not just getting thrown out at the door? And so I started a tech startup to actually fix that problem. And so it's called Klesis. And what's going to happen is what you do is you will upload your resume. It will provide you with training, with feedback, all of the things that you would actually need to get past those systems, and then to have like that immediate feedback that you would need to be able to talk to either a recruiter or a hiring manager, and then so that you can actually streamline that process that normally you would have to do manually.
Okay, you just answered all my questions before I asked. Take a seat, Michael. Okay, thank you for that. So let's start off by first of all giving Michael a round of applause for, you know, doing what he did. I mean, that just tells you that it doesn't matter how. I wanted to, you know, congratulate Mike on the, you know, his endeavors and what he did. I mean, it just basically shows that no matter what you're going through in life, you can pull yourself out of that hole and be successful. Okay. Michael was telling me, I don't want to give away your financial situation, but he made well over 6 figures. You know, from being, you know, being homeless. So that's an incredible story, and congratulations on that. So you kind of told people a little bit about Klesis and what it does, and you kind of gave them an idea of, you know, what you encountered and why you came up with it, but kind of take a step back a second and just give some more detail about the things that you encountered when you were trying to apply for jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the primary challenges that I encountered was, so you only have so much space that you actually have on your paper for your resume. And so let's say you work with, right, a whole host of suites of technologies that you normally do when you work in software. So if you use Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, Angular, React, all the different standard frameworks that you would use, and you go to apply for a job and you've got 80% of those skills listed, what would happen oftentimes is I would talk to a recruiter and they would say, hey, you have 80% of the requirements, but have you actually worked with Python before? And I would go, well, yes, actually I have. And they'll go, well, all of your Python experience isn't actually listed on your resume. And I was like, well, if I talked about everything that I did, I wouldn't have space for a resume then. And they were like, yeah, Okay, well, can you remake this and then send me your resume again? Well, if you're on a job hunt, you end up doing that like for X number of jobs that you're applying to. So if you're applying for 100 jobs, you're rewriting your resume 100 different times. And so that's a bunch of manual labor that you can really just kind of offload to technology, especially with all the AI tools and things like that we have now, so that you don't have to waste that manual time and you can spend your time actually trying to find your next job.
Okay, and I will attest to that. I am actually, one of the things I do is executive recruitment, executive search, high-level C-suite stuff, and we do tailor resumes for every particular project that we put somebody forward for. So yeah, I mean, that does take a lot of time.
Yes, it does, a lot.
And I get probably about 20 plus requests a day for people looking for resume writing assistance. So, that's a great tool. So tell me, are you leveraging, obviously leveraging AI?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So that's probably made it a lot easier now than it would have been maybe a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. And I promise for my techies, I'm not just using it as a buzzword, because it's one of those hot words right now, but it's without giving away too much of the secret sauce. Yes, I'm trying to use it, and the NLP, the natural language processing capabilities that you can use with some of these AI tools to really help you to be able to formulate to the best of your ability whatever experience you actually have, so that you're wording it in such a way that it's actually appealing to a potential recruiter or to a potential company that you're trying to get hired by. Okay,
so there are other resume writing tools on the market. Has anyone used a resume writing tool? Raise your hand if you used a resume. Okay, a few of you in the room here. Okay, do you like it? Was it helpful? No? Yeah, no. I mean, I've tried them out just because I'm in the industry, and most ATS systems, applicant tracking systems that companies use, can identify an AI written resume. So my question is, how are you getting around that?
Absolutely. So the primary power that's actually coming from Klesis, that's more of a secondary feature, although I have addressed that, is with most people, whenever you're trying to do any kind of like content generation or language generation with an AI, like she said, it's very easy to be able to tell if it's AI generated, normally because most of the LLMs that are out there, the really popular ones like Gemini, Claude, and all of them, they're essentially like kind of jack of all trades, but specialists at none. And so you have to be very, very specific in the way that you're prompting it to get it to, one, generate the kind of information that you want it to get, but then number two, to get it to generate the tone, the language, the syntax, and the grammar that you really want it to do. It's a specialization inside of AI that's called prompt engineering. And so I do make sure that I'm leveraging prompt engineering properly to make sure that you're getting the proper tone, grammar, and syntax, and all of those things to make sure that it sounds as natural as possible and as close to an actual human writing it as possible. But that's more the secondary feature. Again, it's a good thing. The real power of it is going to come from leveraging that technology to actually get you to be able to talk to people like recruiters, like hiring managers, like people who actually own the company.
And that's something that most of the resume writing apps don't do. They're simply a resume writing app, right? They don't go to the next step and help you apply for a job, help you identify the right kind of position. What role should you be applying for based on the experience and that you have?
Exactly.
And then, how do I get to those people? Well, do I just go with the other 1,000 people that are in the ATS system and apply online, or do I try to take the next step and be more proactive? Well, as an executive recruiter, we do that manually right now, so you're going to save me a lot of time. Right?
That's
so
the
what
goal.
this is basically doing is hopefully not putting me out of a job, but giving applicants the ability to not only identify the right role that matches with their skills and experience, but also identify companies that are looking for people with their skills and experience, and then the hiring managers / HR directors, talent acquisition people within those companies. So that's super powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and you can almost think of it as kind of similar to like a CRM, the customer relationship management software. You'll see companies and a lot of agencies, they actually leverage that kind of technology when they're trying to do like lead acquisition, convert people from prospects to sales, but you don't see a lot of that same technology being leveraged for people, just normal everyday people who are trying to get jobs for themselves, and it should be, right? Because those are some of the people who would actually need it the most.
Totally agree. So tell me a bit about the structure of the company. You're a solopreneur right now, right?
Yes, I am.
So tell me about that, because that could be challenging.
Yes, so The thing that I actually like about it is I found most of the time, because I've also worked with a lot of tech startup founders for their companies trying to develop technical MVPs. And so one of the highest costs that people normally have when they're trying to release an MVP is the actual technical cost that it takes for you to either try and vibe code it yourself, which comes with its own challenges, but is a thing that you can do, or trying to actually hire a developer in-house or going with a dev agency. But the problem with that is if you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to throw at an MVP you don't even know works, then you're kind of out of luck, right? And so for me, the benefit is because my background is actually in software engineering, I'm able to essentially reduce that cost to zero, other than the cloud computing costs that I have to like spin up a server and things like that. When it comes to the actual back office, like administration portion of things, and then the sales and marketing portion of the business, I've been able to, I'm just kind of blessed that I have people that are in my life, people who work in marketing, people who do marketing agencies, people who are really, really good at like outbound sales, setting up pipelines and funnels and things like that. And so that portion of things has really been like the learning experience for me. I've been able to leverage a lot of those people to learn how to do the other side of business. My primary expertise is in the technical portion of things, but that's why you bring in other people to be able to help you.
So you are going out and getting help from people that have the experience you don't have, basically.
Exactly.
It's a smart way to do it. Okay. Have you set up a separate entity for the product, for the MVP, or is it just operating as a part of your current business, like, because you do consulting, don't you?
Yeah, so right now I do software consulting through my LLC that I have, NuVision Technology, and so it's kind of under that umbrella because it's already a software development agency, so this is just kind of a child of that.
Okay, so do you have a logo for the product? Do you have a... You have?
Yes, yes I do.
I would have put it up there. I didn't know you had one. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
You're fine.
Okay, and as far as branding and marketing, you said you know people that are going to be helping you with that, okay? Mm-hmm. So what is your go-to-market strategy? What do you think is going to be the way you're going to bring this to the masses? Yeah,
so right now what I'm doing is I'm acquiring, essentially trying to do a lot of community building, because that's the other thing, especially working in a software agency, that I've seen, is that I've seen a bunch of founders who they'll come up with an idea and they'll spend a bunch of money trying to actually develop an MVP, but they haven't talked to a single customer. And so the thing that I've done is I'm really trying to get it close to what actual customers would really, really want for the product in terms of features, so that I'm not rabbit chasing things that the market doesn't actually like. Mm-hmm. So I mean, for me, the process has really been as simple as setting up a Google form, which is 100% free to set up, and you can go on just online communities. There's a really popular one called Indie Hackers that has a bunch of solopreneurs. Reddit subreddits are actually a really, really good form as well. There's subreddits like r/learning programming or r/CS students, and then also just talking with a lot of students down at the local university at UNLV, especially the early computer science majors, because right now the tech market, it kind of like ebbs and flows, and it's been kind of weird since COVID happened. Prior to COVID, like in 2019, like if you just knew how to turn a computer on, you could get a remote job working in tech, right? 6-figure salary. But now it's a little bit different. So really talking to them, asking them what their pain points have been when it comes to trying to actually get hired in tech, and then using that feedback to iterate on the product has been my go-to-market strategy. And then I'm also building an online school community to kind of foster that interaction with them.
Okay, well, it sounds like you have it all figured out. You've got a lot of things, actually doing the right things. I mean, you actually did the research up front before building the product, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Trust me, it's not automatic. I know a lot of people that come up with an idea, right? And then Carmen's nodding her head as well. You come up with an idea and don't speak to one person about it as to whether or not it's something that they might actually use. So, really good point there is that, make sure that you take the time up front before you develop one thing, before you spend a penny if you're not developing it yourself, to go out there and speak to people, speak to your target audience, and see if what you're doing is something they can actually work with and that they need. And also talk about pricing. How are you going to price this? Because pricing model is also important as well.
Yeah, for sure. So what I did is I looked at a lot of competitors, and the primary competitor that I saw, there's a company called Resi.ai that's out there in the market, and they have a membership with one of the platforms that I talked about earlier, Indie Hackers. And so on Indie Hackers, you can actually connect your Stripe account to be able to post the amount of money that you're collecting in sales through Stripe, if that's how you're collecting your payments. And I believe last time I checked it within the last month, he was pulling in, it was $250,000 monthly just in revenue. And yeah, he only focuses on the actual resume portion of things. He doesn't have the other features like the CRM built-in abilities to be able to like actually connect with recruiters, hiring managers, and things like that. And so looking at a lot of the other competitors that are in the market, most of them use a subscription model. So I'm planning on doing the exact same thing, but because it has additional features, I'll be able to price differently than they do.
Okay. It sounds like you have a lot of it figured out. Congratulations. But is
Thank
there
you.
anything, because we have a group of really smart people here in the audience, is there anything that you think that you need help with? That, you know, because you're only one person. I know you do a lot. For being one person, you do an awful lot. But is there anything you can think that you would need help with at this stage that you're at right now? Because you're not quite at in the market, right? You're not ready for market just yet.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I'm finishing up the MVP first.
So you have the technical piece covered, it seems,
Absolutely.
right? But what about, and the marketing, you've spoken to people, is there anything that, you know, you could use help with as far as maybe structuring the company or anything like that that, you know, that you want to ask anyone in the audience today that might be able to provide some information for?
Yeah, I would say that. So my primary background is in technology. I know people who work in the marketing space and who are good with that. When it comes to specifically business finance, so that would be like how taxes would be structured, what would be the best way to, you know, do account bookkeeping and things like that. I do use services for those things, but I think that it would be nice to get some more professional help in terms of like the actual financial bookkeeping of things. And then anybody who has experience, I would say probably in although it's not going to really be outbound sales oriented, it's always helpful to have somebody who has, you know, a background in sales. I would say those are probably the primary things.
Okay, so if you were here last month, right? So
Yes.
Lawrence Turner from LT Taxes was here and talked about structuring and taxes and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
But is there anybody in the room here that does that provides those services? No. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. We've got people as well that we know that have spoken before here, but nobody here can help with Michael's question? Well, okay.
We definitely spoke.
Okay.
Last Tech Alley.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And outbound sales. Who has a sales solution here?
I'll say I'm really well connected, so we can talk.
Okay.
Okay.
Alex, could your AI agent help
Yeah.
Michael?
We can do outbound calls and text messages and emails, anything like that.
Oh, fantastic.
But I mean, essentially, your target audience is anybody who's really looking for a job,
Yes, absolutely.
right? I mean, so that's pretty broad. Yeah.
I'm marketing it initially specifically for tech people because I'm a tech person
Sure.
and these are the pain points that I've encountered. But yes,
Right.
absolutely, it would apply to anybody who's looking for a job.
Or it could also be used by the recruiting executive search companies or staffing agencies.
Absolutely. So that's actually the kind of the V2 of the product because it works exactly the same way. It's just using the same technology, but in reverse. But yes, absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Michael as far as what he's doing? Wow, we've got a really quiet. Okay, Haz, go on.
So, a couple of years ago, I did an experiment and I hired one of those services to do my resume for me. Then ChatGPT came out and I gave ChatGPT the same exact information that I gave that resume service. And I got the same resume out of both services.
Wow. And you paid for one and not for the other?
Yeah, and I just want to know, how is yours different? How does it surpass that?
Great question.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So like I was talking about earlier with AI kind of being a buzzword. So again, if you don't know how the underlying technology of AI actually works, I tell people this all the time. It's just math. Like that's literally all it is, math. And so don't put too much faith or power into what it is. A lot of the tech companies will kind of hype up the power of AI, but it's because they're incentivized to, right? If they can get VC investors to believe that it's kind of a magic one-all solution that's going to end everybody's job, then they get more money in their pocket. So that's not what it is. So what I do is I try to use it for what I believe that it's actually really, really good for, which is research, helping you to structure your learning and to point you in the right direction. So the primary way that I use it is, one, again, with the prompt engineering to make sure it's using very, very specific prompts, number one. And then number two, it's helping to give you pointers to show you, hey, here's what you should do and here are resources that you should use to be able to come out with a fantastic resume that would be domain specific for whatever particular job you're trying to get. Because an actual resume writing service where it's kind of like a ChatGPT wrapper, right, where you just send off your resume and it rewrites it for you, that's not actually helpful for people, especially because you're the kind of person, well, everybody individually, you have your own particular particular tone, and especially because if you have it across different business domains, you'll know the particular way of writing that's best for you. And so you can actually write it yourself and still use all of the pointers, the features, and the resources that the AI would provide you with, and still give it that human touch so that it doesn't sound like ChatGPT spit it out.
It sounds like the company you paid was using ChatGPT to write that with a different
They
put
were
on it.
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Any other question? Over there.
Do you create your own AI or your prompt on top of ChatGPT or cloud infrastructure?
Yeah, so I actually do work right now for a law firm where we built a tool for lawyers to be able to do case research with a bunch of different people and clients and documents that they would need for it specifically. And so I'm using the same solution that I actually leverage for that, which is it's a combination of a lot of the popular ones out there like Claude, Gemini 2.5, exactly. But it's also a combination of my own one that I have built in that I've kind of trained on my own data set that I have in-house.
Okay.
Is it important to pull the individual's personality within that resume? And how are you doing that to distinguish between individuals?
Great question.
Yeah, actually, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Yes, it very much is. And so there's two different tracks that you can kind of take with it. So the first one is if you really want an AI to actually produce results that are specific to you, you have to give it a data set to be able to train it on, right? Because again, that's another thing that I tell people all the time with AI. It's only as good as the actual data that you give it. And so if you want it to mimic you, you have to be able to feed it with enough data and data points that can actually pick up on your patterns and your style. So yes, that is one of the features that I do use in Klesis, but it requires that you upload a number of documents so they can kind of get used to your writing style. The other track though that I recommend to people, and this is something that you can even do with really any LLM that's out there, is again, it giving you, hey, here's the things that should be improved, here's the specific things that you can fix that will make this better, but you should write it using your tone so that you can give it that human touch. So you can do both of those.
Yeah, we built a tool that just scans your LinkedIn profile and scans all your posts. And so it runs a disc personality on it. And so that is how we're actually producing content that sounds human and based on their knowledge base.
That's a great way to do it, exactly. Because especially if they have a lot of social media posts, then yeah, it'll be able to pick up on the pattern. So that's really good.
Will it actually, like for my son, he's lazy, would it actually do that?
It can't fix the laziness, but
Don't fall far from
So,
will it actually fill it out for him or send it out or whatever it does?
yeah, so the sending out portion, and that again, that's this kind of CRM technology that's with it. That's the real power, because for people who are familiar with like marketing and stuff like that, the actual resume building, that's really just kind of like the lead magnet that's there. The real power of it is going to be in people being able to actually get connected with the recruiters and the HR people, because there's not really a tool that's widely available for use that people can do that with. So yes, it can do that to get them connected. Now for the writing portion of things, again, you're going to get out of it what it is that you put into it. So if he just goes, can you write me a resume that'll get me hired by Bill Gates, he might kind of be out of luck.
so you can't cheat, basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
You can't cheat. I have another question actually specifically about soft skills, because in my experience, 60, maybe 60-70% of the job is the actual technology experience that you've got, right? But the other 30-40% is culture fit, personality. Have you figured out a way to kind of identify that in a person, like what kind of environment fits them best?
Yes, absolutely. So that's another thing that's been really cool about doing this, especially with me having worked in software, is you notice trends with people. So like, for instance, if somebody's a really killer, like back-end engineer, for instance, so sometimes, colloquially they'll call them 10X engineers, they're normally not people. If you get what I'm saying. Like, engineers, right, they like working with things, kind of shut-ins, right, just sit on their computer in the dark and do what it is that they do. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It just means that your particular personality and the way that your mind is constituted is geared towards a specific skill set. And yes, it does take things like that into account, because if that's how you are, right, applying for, more creative, design-oriented positions might not necessarily be the path that you want to take. You can still do it, but you want to do something something and apply to jobs that are good for your particular skill set. Whereas I've met other people who are fantastic front-end engineers. They're really, really gifted when it comes to design, right? Those kinds of things. And so if those are the kind of skill sets that you have, you're really good at design, you're expressive, right? You can be really, really creative, then you'll want to make sure that you're applying to those kinds of jobs. And so yes, it takes those kinds of things into account. Now, when it comes to the actual soft skills themselves, what I've tried to do is on the school community that I have where I'm kind of fostering that interaction with the user base, I've done a lot of like one-on-one consultations and conversations with people to try and help them with that. Because it's again, when it comes to AI, it's very good at certain things, but when it comes to actually building up soft skills, communication, being able to articulate yourself, that's something that's a lot better to be able to do in person. And so the primary thing I've done is I've created resources which will also be available inside of the application itself for them to be able to view, but to train them, right? Because especially if you work in tech, being able to explain really, really specific and complex technical topics to people who, right, if you're talking to the CEO, that's going to be a skill that's important to you because he might not understand or she might not understand all of the different intricacies of what it is you're talking about. So you got to be able to translate.
So you're basically going to have a training tool as part of the software that will help people get past. I mean, you're helping them get in the door, but then they've got to actually interview and succeed at the interview. You're going to help them beyond just the resume writing and the submission.
Exactly, and that the concept.
It's basically putting me out of a job. It's what he's doing right now. No.
There you go.
I might be your first customer, actually. Is what I might be. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Troy.
Business model. If someone is looking for a job, they'll use your service once or twice. So have you thought about how is that business model going to sustain?
Yes.
Great question.
Yes, I have, and that is a great question.
Yeah.
So I have thought about that a lot, and the primary thing, again, for me is I'm focusing specifically on tech people right now, and really the only way that would become a problem is if A, I'm not bringing in enough people on a month-to-month basis to actually be able to use the service, or B, right, everybody who's looking for a job in tech gets hired. I don't think that the second one will happen, so I'll just have to make sure that I'm very aggressive on the first front of making sure I'm talking to people, marketing properly, things like that. But even if that were to happen, the same kind of technology can be used in other business domains. So let's say, right, something changes tomorrow, everybody's done with tech hiring. It's the exact same technology that you would use in any business domain. So let's say marketing people or creative people now, they're looking for a job. I can market it to them the same way because the pipes would be the same. It's just passing through different water.
So this is not a monthly subscription, it's a one-off, one use? Or?
No, it is a monthly subscription, but when you said the business model for it, were you referring to how you're going to make sure that you're keeping enough money coming in through the door in like your customer and user base?
Yes, I was referring to like, say I was looking for a job. I used your service. I got a resume, X amount of resumes out for X amount of job. I get a job, I stop your service.
Mm-hmm. That if that were to happen, that means that I did my job successfully. Yes, I'm factoring that into the subscription model and how I'm bringing in revenue for it.
But on that note, though, Troy, I would tell you that, again, I'm in the business, and I get hundreds of requests for resume writing assistance every week, and I'm just one person, right? And I'm not going out and looking for it; it's coming to me. So, to Michael's point, there's always going to be someone out there that needs help. Another thing is volumes there. Contractors, they're frequently changing positions. So, when they're looking for contract work, that's another thing. IT staff, IT contractors, if that's the space that you're focusing on initially. I don't think there's going to be an issue with the need. And then, maybe you do something like a referral program where someone who's been happy and succeeded in finding a job because they've used your service, they can refer you to somebody else, and then you can kind of continue they can pass on, we've got to talk about it offline, but there are ways that you can leverage those relationships and successes to continue, capturing that audience that you've. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's also why I've thought about it in stages as well. So the V1 is really going to be focused on candidates and people who are trying to get themselves jobs. But again, the technology works the exact same way in reverse. You're just changing the people that it's looking for. So V2 is really going to be focused on allowing companies to be able to try and automate their hiring processes, recruiting companies, tech companies, anybody who's looking to hire, so that they can get much more specific and refined results that they're trying to get. Because there's companies that exist right now, like ZipRecruiter. There's recruiting agencies and things like that, but I feel like they're not taking full advantage of the amount of technical suite tools that are out there.
They would get an enterprise license.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, and then you can scale from there for sure. Yeah. Gary.
Yeah, more of a comment. You're talking about providing the service to an economy that is growing its service base. We are continuing to get away from manufacturing and other mundane jobs. Hence, AI is going to be successful in upgrading everybody in the future. They're going to need your service. And as it gets competitive out there, and people like us get lazy about doing something as routine as a resume, we're going to be knocking on your door more often.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else have a question or a comment? No? Anything you'd like to close with, Michael?
No, I think I pretty much said
okay.
everything. Yeah, your questions were good. I was like, what did she not ask?
Listen, at the end of the day, this forum is for people. I mean, maybe you've sparked an idea in someone's mind, and Troy, it seems like you're doing something maybe that, could be complimentary or maybe... question?
Is it available now?
So right now, you can join the community, but the MVP is not yet for release.
Okay, how do people join the community?
Yeah, so the easiest way to find me is if you just search me up on LinkedIn. So my name is Michael Pope.
He was supposed to send me a QR code, but he didn't, so sorry.
But it's hard to miss me, right?
Okay, right.
One of the first results to show up, but yeah,
Okay.
if you just search Michael Pope.
Klesis.
Klesis.
Why the name?
Great question.
Yes, so when I was looking for the name, right, because there's a bunch of companies where if you think of the name, it just kind of sounds like nonsense, right? Like Twitter. Like if Twitter wasn't Twitter, you'd be like, what does that even mean? Yeah, exactly. So what I did was it's the Latin word for job or vocation.
I thought it was Latin. Nice.
That's smart. And if anybody wants to, obviously you can speak with Michael here tonight, but if anyone wants his information, if you're connected to me, and you can't find him, then you can find me and I'll put you in contact with him. But yeah, definitely join the community.
Yes.
And, and I'll provide you also with a list of people that are here tonight, so you can send the information to them as well, so that way you can get anything you need out to them, because you didn't get me the QR code in time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions? No, okay, well, Michael, thank you so much for being in the hot seat tonight for Startup Stories. We appreciate it.
Thank you.